Florists in Victoria are calling for compensation after the state's snap lockdown over the weekend saw millions of dollars of flowers go to waste. Sheree Miraculous Pavlou said, "We have had huge events planned because of Valentine's Day and everyone wants to get married on Valentine's Day, so tens of thousands of dollars in flowers are gone." She's from the wonderful Flowers Vasset, will be known to everyone in Melbourne there in Fitzroy. It's been a pretty tough weekend all round. Joining me now, former Communications Minister Stephen Conroy and host of the Friday show, The Friday Showdown, here on Sky News, Rita Panahi. All right, Rita, you, I know, have been talking to businesses over the weekend. We spoke to some. You and I were out to dinner on Friday night. It's been devastating here in Victoria.
Oh, it is. It couldn't have come at a worse time for so many sectors, including the florists, the hospitality sector, events, reception areas. This was going to be their biggest weekend of the year. You had Chinese New Year celebrations and Valentine's Day falling on Sunday. I went to a florist today and they're just distraught. I tried to do my bit and buy a bunch of flowers, but really they have just so much stock that they're not going to be able to sell. You know, the flowers don't last forever, and I just wonder whether Dan Andrews even considered the extent that he was devastating businesses who've just gone through a horror 2020 by the timing of this 5-day, let's hope, 5-day lockdown.
It's impossible, Stephen Conroy. Please don't insult my intelligence to put your Labor hat on and just go into the ring with him. But, I mean, it's impossible to defend how he's handled this, surely.
Well, look, I think they were faced with bad choices. They could have let it run through the weekend and given the sense of urgency that the health advice was providing, or they could do what they did and slam the hard lockdown down, which was, as Rita has said, devastating. I talked to small businesses here in Williamstown, where I live, and the florists were overflowing, as you would expect. They had the Chinese New Year as well, so all of those restaurants... Yeah, but
Stephen, I've got to interrupt you, but we shouldn't have been in that position. We should not have been in the position where there was these, low-level outbreaks, I'll have to call them that. I mean, Lee Sales today, Rita, she was at the Premier's press conference. She went hard and went through all of these circumstances where it could have been better managed, you know. And this is not Peter Credlin having a whinge anymore. This is sort of a lady of the left of the ABC. Surely there is now a sense, Rita, that the Emperor's got no clothes. People are seeing through his spin.
I think increasingly so, but he does still have this cult-like following amongst many people, and in their eyes, he can do no wrong. But yeah, we shouldn't be in this situation, and surely after a year of this, we can look at New South Wales and say, how have they handled spikes and infections? Much bigger than this one, by the way. How have they managed to suppress it, use contact tracing and other targeted methods instead of locking down an entire city or an entire state in this instance? So I just don't think you can justify it saying, well, they're following their health advice. If this is all due to dodgy health advice, well, then maybe look at the health advice New South Wales is given. Why is their health advice so markedly different to what Victoria is operating on?
I think Rita's being a little disingenuous there. If you look at New Zealand and its health advice, if you look at South Australia and its health advice, a Liberal state, Tasmania and its health advice.
New South Wales, please.
South Australia and Tasmania are both Liberal states. West Australia.
Yeah, and South Australia's been a bedwetter state too. South Australia has been hopeless too.
You might want to have that argument with them, but I'm simply making the point that it's not just Victoria's health advice that you disagree with. It's Queensland, Western Australia, South Australia, Tasmania, if you want to go overseas, New South Wales.
We've said that all along.
No.
Yeah, but just let me just jump in there.
My point. We're talking about Victoria now.
I'm going to insist on finishing.
My point.
New Zealand sent some South Australia, South African virus to us, and the Prime Minister chopped it out for 3 or 4 days instantaneously. So the Prime Minister of Australia,
the point,
your
Stephen,
hero, Rita, actually slammed.
And I criticised him for that. And I criticised him for that, Stephen. This isn't a party political thing.
So is he
I've been critical of South Australia. I thought that decision to block flights from New Zealand, yes, that was a panicked move. That wasn't proportionate. Okay,
well, at least you're consistent. I can't argue with the fact you're being consistent. That you just.
Can I just jump in there though? The issue isn't that the virus is in every state and the strains are in every state. They are, right? Don't listen to Andrews. Every other state is dealing with UK strains and South African strains in the hotel quarantine system. The difference is, by and large, they are keeping the strains in hotel quarantine, or if it gets out, managing it very quickly with contact tracing. Very little transmission in Brisbane and in Perth, very little transmission out of hotel quarantine in New South Wales. And you look at the quantum of people that have returned in New South Wales. The problem with Victoria is not that the virus is getting in, it's that they're letting the virus get out. That's the problem, Rita.
Yes, and we've had this inquiry. We suspended hotel quarantine for months between June and December. And already this world's best system that apparently other states are following is leaking infections. And there doesn't seem to be even a clear understanding now with that poor man who's intensive care, whether he was told he could use his nebulizer or not. It just seems to be chaotic, and again, right, people can't answer questions.
I'm sorry we had other questions to get to, but we've just gone around and around on that one issue. But we'll get to other things tomorrow night. I promise we won't just stay with Victoria, but it's critically important at the moment. Rita and Stephen, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Good to talk.